Welcome! I'm so glad you're here. I'm Gila Ross, parenting educator and coach, author of Living Beautifully and host of the Confident Parent podcast, bringing you the content you need to bring more ease, joy and love into your parenting so that you can show up as the parent you want to be to your children. Did anyone get an opportunity to stop and give their child a moment of undistracted listening?
I did.
How'd it go?
So I feel bad because when you were saying it, I thought, you know what, like my son's talking to me and I'm like giving him half my attention because I'm always on my phone. And the whole week, every time he spoke to me, I put my phone down and I was like just listening so intently with him. And I think he really appreciated it.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And
I feel good as well.
Yes, because I can totally relate. We have everything on our phone. We have the emails and the bank and whatnot, right? It's so easy to get busy with our phones nonstop. It's amazing, right? I'm sure your son appreciated it. Did you hear more things than you would have heard had you been on your phone?
Yeah, definitely. I paid a lot more attention to what he was saying, and you know, I feel like we spent like a lot more quality time together because I was really listening.
Amazing. It's very, very easy for our phones to be a distraction, right? We've all been there. You're in the middle of doing something on the phone and someone talks to you and you're just like fixated on the phone. It takes an effort, but it's a worthwhile effort to actually put the phone away and listen with our full attention. Thank you, Becca, for sharing that. Anyone else?
I've been trying to do similar as well. So I've been more aware for when Ari is asking for me. You know, when she says mummy, I think sometimes you tune out them saying mummy sometimes. And I've been trying to sort of pay more attention to when she's asking for me and respond saying, yes, Aria.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Just be more attuned to it. And I think I was trying to do that a bit anyway. And I have been more aware as well about the phone thing. Sometimes she shouts to me and my husband if she sees us on our phone too much. I feel awful when that happens, but I'm trying to be more mindful of that and not always be on it and make sure I spend a bit more playtime focusing on her and not get too caught up in my phone. And I think she likes it. She seems to bask in having a bit more attention from me.
I think we've got to come at it from a gentle place because the reality is, I think we're all in a place where we're on our phone too, I think. Right, on our phone too much. But if you think about it, when you're talking to someone else and they're on their phone, it's a little frustrating, right? So it's no different for our kids. And as Ruth said, you know, a lot of times we do tune them out, especially when it's about 8 o'clock in the morning and, you know, they're on to like the 5,783rd mummy. When we turn to them and we actually say, yes, Aria, or yes, whatever the kid's name is, they realize that they're being heard. So thank you so much for inspiring us. We're going to take this with us to this week as well. We're going to also try and continue just, you know, giving them our undistracted attention when they listen to us. And again, it doesn't have to be huge spurts of time. It just has to be a little bit more and a bit more of something that we're mindful on. We're going to cover some new ground as well, which may not be new ground, but something that I think is going to be important as well and valuable for us going into the week ahead. So we spoke about the idea that we want to, when our kids talk to us, we want to listen to them, right? We want to give them our undistracted listening. Now, it's important to have both scheduled time to listen to our kids and unscheduled time. What do I mean by that? Is that it's important to sort of set times where we can be with our kids, but also to have the flexibility and realize that there are going to be times that they want to talk to us that is not on our schedule, right? So we may say, you know what, when we pick them up from school or whatever, and we're going to spend a few minutes, depending on what their after school activity is, we're going to spend a few minutes recapping, asking them questions about the day, you know, just chatting about, if they don't like that, then us chatting about our day. But then what might happen is you might be, you know, cooking up supper, or you might be doing homework, and then they'll suddenly remember something. So we have to have that balance of schedule time when we're conscious that we're going to spend time with them, we're going to listen to them, we're going to talk and have that communication with them, and also unscheduled time that when they want to open up to us, then they know that we're there to talk to them. And obviously, it doesn't mean that every single time a child wants to say something that we have to drop everything we're doing, right? We're living in a real life, right? There are times where you can't just drop everything. And it's okay occasionally to turn around to a child and say, I really want to hear what you have to say, but the baby's screaming, I've got a phone call, I'm just in the middle of doing something. Can you tell me when, right? But as long as we communicate to them that we want to hear, and that even though now is not the right time, can you tell us in about 5-10 minutes or whatever it is, a half an hour, whatever it is, and then follow up with that at that point. Because it's really, really important for us, for our kids to know that they are our absolute priority. Now, we're listening to this and you're probably thinking like, duh, of course, you know, the amount of effort that we go through for our kids, but sometimes we forget, and they need to hear it and they need to feel it. And interestingly enough, it's important why sometimes it's important to go to bat for them, even if we're not going to be successful, right? So, and again, I'm want to, you know, make a disclaimer here. It doesn't mean that we have to believe that our child is always right. Of course not, right? We have to be balanced about it. But sometimes, you know, if something is bothering our child, it's important for them to see us go to bat for them. And even if we're not successful, right? Because that helps them to understand that we are their priority. I'll give you a little story that I think illustrates this point. There was a rabbi of a yeshiva. His name is Rabbi Orlowik, and he's a master educator. And he once had a kid in his family that he knew, and the kid was in yeshiva. He was in a sleepaway yeshiva away in a different city. The father's father also lived in that city. So the boy's grandfather also lived in that city. And Rabbi Orlowik told the grandfather, so what used to happen is that it was a two hour away. And what used to happen is the dad used to go visit his father and visit the son at the same time, because it's a 4-hour trip. You may as well see both of them. And Rabbi Orlowik told him, just once, go visit your child and don't go visit your father. Why? Because it's important for your child to know that he's worth visiting, and he's not just an add-on when you go visit your dad. So again, the idea there is, the mindset there is that sometimes there are opportunities where we can show our kids that, you know what, I'm willing to go the extra effort for you in order to show that I will go to bat for you. You are my priority. One of the things, I had a story that happened to me when I lived in Vancouver. So the school that we sent our kids to was about a 15-minute drive away, and the kids used to take a packed lunch every day. So invariably, once every so often, I drive the kids to school, come home and see an offending lunchbox sitting on the kitchen table or next to the door or whatever else it is. And you realize, there is a child who has forgotten their lunchbox. Now, I remember once being left with this dilemma, and it was like, going back to school to give it to the child is a half an hour round trip. So my dilemma kind of was, here is a child that's messed up. We're not talking about a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old, a child that's a little bit older and knows, they should probably be taking a little bit of responsibility. Do I say, you know what, you left your lunchbox, learn the hard way? Or do I drive the half an hour trip and take the kids the lunchbox? What do you think? Anyone?
I would let them learn the hard way, because even Albert Einstein says, you need to learn from your mistakes.
I'd do the same. I wouldn't take it, because they only go home, they only forget it once then.
Okay, I'm not saying there's no right or wrong answers. I'm curious to hear what you would do.
Obviously, the mummy in me would want to drive, but I just feel like if you don't let your child learn from the mistakes, I just think they won't ever learn.
Okay, I hear that point.
I drive.
Right, so you do it once. Okay, Nikki, did you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I probably would take it. I mean, yeah, I probably would. Just because I'm soft, but.
So I'll share with you what I did, and I'm not saying this is right, but I just want to share my perspective. Is I was hemming and hawing, and I was like, like Becca and Ruth was like, I'm like, come on, the kid has to learn from the mistakes. In the end, I said, you know what? I'm going to drive it, and I drove it there. I didn't see the kid. I just dropped it off at the school thing. At the end of the day, I made a big point of telling the kids, you know, I dropped everything and I drove a half an hour to bring you your lunchbox, because in this family, we help each other out. And I wanted, and I made a point of saying that to the child, so that, number one, because I think a lot of times, you know, if you just drop the lunchbox off at school, the kid doesn't really think, they're not thinking, oh, you know, it takes a half an hour. They're just thinking, oh, I left it, it's here now. But I wanted them to know that, number one, it was an effort. And number two, I did it for them because I care about it. And number three, because in this family, we help each other out. But I think that what Becca and Ruth are saying is a good point. We can't always step into our kids. And had it been a recurring issue, had it been like a child, you know, keeps leaving it, I wouldn't have done it again and again, right? But this is a one-off thing. And I felt like it was an opportunity to show my child that, you know, I'll go the extra mile for you. And that's, you know, you also can go the extra mile for others. But that is sort of a little side story, but it's, again, what we're basically showing our children there is that they're our priority, and that we will go to bat for them, obviously balanced with, as what Becca and Ruth also said, all the other things that we want to teach them. Is we want to teach them responsibility, we want to teach them values, whatever. So if we think our kid is in the wrong, then obviously that's not a place where we would go to the bat. But if there's something that's going on and we feel like, you know, maybe there's something that we can do to help our child, and even if we're not sure that we're going to be successful about it, it's important to go through the effort, because our kids see the effort. And don't expect them to say, wow, thank you so much, I see that you're doing the effort, but it registers. Okay. And that's I think what we have to also understand as parents, and I think sometimes we underestimate that, is that we are irreplaceable to our kids, right? Our kids want a strong relationship with us, right? When our kids are little, you know, whatever, you think they take us for granted, and that's a good thing, right? Because that means our attachment is secure. And as our kids get older, we think they want nothing to do with us. The truth is, and think about it in your own life, like, and think about like people that you know, even people that have parents that aren't good parents, right? A child naturally wants a good, close relationship with their child, with their parents, even as much as they're fighting us and they want their independence and whatever else. At the core of it, we are irreplaceable to them, and that we have to make the most of this, right? We have to make the most of our power as their parents and build on that relationship, make it a strong relationship, because at the end of the day, that is the strongest thing that's going to keep our kids connected to us and going to keep our kids learning our values from them, is when we have that strong relationship. And us listening and talking and communicating and going to bat and showing them that we are their priority, that is the strongest tool that we have in our toolbox. You pick a task for yourself that you want to do. You can, number one, remember how important it is. Number two, if you have an opportunity, try and find one opportunity this week to show your child that they are your priority. Number three, if you want to continue working on the undistracted listening, go for it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your questions for future episodes. And please take a moment, think about someone else who might benefit from this and forward it on to them. If you enjoyed this podcast, you'll love my book, Living Beautifully, for more insights on how to bring meaning, joy, love into your life based on timeless Jewish wisdom. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out.